What is acceptable in the bedroom? That's our topic. You want to know what you two can agree on what works for you. If you haven't subscribed, hit that button. You got a question, put it in the box. Listen, I have worked for 40 years with couples, and I am absolutely astounded at how many couples fuss about what's acceptable in the bedroom. And if they're people of faith, that's a factor. If they have a past of pornography, that's a factor. Their past is a factor. If they've been abused, if they've had abortions, there's all kinds of things that can play into this. But how do we solve the problem? And I want you and your partner to be able to have an incredibly great sex life. And this is one of the discussions that we need to have, is what's acceptable. Now, I don't want to get a whole bunch of emails and phone calls about, well, Dr. Weiss, what about this? What about that? Because I want to give you something that's in couple materials. One is Upgrade Your Sex Life. In Upgrade Your Sex Life, you too can download that or read it. You can watch it and you can learn what is the sexual expression or the sex language of my partner. What is it? What is it that my husband or wife really wants to hear during foreplay, during sex, after sex? You can become a master at who they are sexually because they're different than you. You know, how often do we want to have sex? Resolve these issues. You don't want to be married 20, 30, 40 years. And for the last 4 decades, I have helped couples have incredible sex. I'm not talking about happy couples. I'm not talking about just your average couples who need to adjust a few things. I'm talking about couples that have been devastated. Pornography addiction, sexual addiction, infidelity, or intimacy anorexia where they're not having sex. They're disconnected emotionally. They feel married and alone. They are so untouched, unwanted, unloved. They're in pain. And all this causes trauma for the other spouse or partner. So you have a couple who's really damaged. And that's what I've been working with for 40 years, helping them have incredible sex. So if I can help thousands of couples like that, I know I can help you. Now, we're only talking about one slice of the pie during this segment, and that is what is acceptable during sex. Now, I need to give you a grid so that you and your spouse partner can figure this out, because it's going to be different. I explain it like this. You know, some people like Italian food, some people like seafood, and some people don't like seafood and they have no reason why they don't like seafood. Some people don't want to try a certain thing because they somehow inside know they don't want to try it, and it doesn't make sense to us who like, well, at least try it and then you know if you like it. Well, there's a caveat for this, even in discussing what is acceptable to you too. Now, I'm going to give you some really broad ideas here, so you might want to write them down or get the book, Upgrade Your Sex Life, or the book, Intimacy, 100-Day Guide to Lasting Relationships. Because if your intimacy is great outside the bedroom, your intimacy is going to be way better inside the bedroom. And sex is about emotional connection, spiritual connection. So if you lack that outside the bedroom, you're only having one-dimensional sex. You want to have three-dimensional sex. It's powerful, mind-blowing, and satiating. And if you don't feel satiated, you're probably having a lack of tools. So I encourage you to get that. So how do we figure this out? Now, I've done conferences for decades. I'd have thousands of people doing this all at one time. It's really quite simple. I hope you have a piece of paper, something you can write with, or your phone, just take quick notes so that you can put this in there and figure it out later. So what you do is you create 2 columns at the top, okay? Those are his and hers. And then you just make a list of the behaviors on the left column of things that you think would be acceptable, or you already know that are acceptable, or maybe even a little bit of a wish list that you might want to have, okay? Now, what's acceptable is what's acceptable to both of you. One person doesn't get to bully or dominate here. Now, of course, if one person is only one thing is acceptable, only under one condition, you might want to get professional help, because there's the lack of creativity and confidence there says there might be an issue. However, what you do is you kind of write down X behavior. Let's just say X behavior. X behavior can mean anything that you want it to be. So, is X acceptable? Well, he gets to vote. He has basically 3 votes. Yes, this is acceptable to me. No, pretty much under any circumstances, this doesn't work for me. are W. W is willing to try once to see if I like it, and any one of those votes is acceptable. This isn't a time where you have a discussion. You make a list of the behaviors and you both get to vote separately on a piece of paper, so that it's not a matter of going back and forth. It's a matter of yes and yes. Okay? Yes and yes is what's acceptable to your garden. Now, your friends might have a different garden. Don't look over the fence, okay? Don't go into pornography for ideas of what's acceptable, because those are actresses and actors, and oftentimes they're high in all kinds of issues. That's not what, it's what's acceptable to you too, okay? So what you do is X behavior, he says yes, she says yes, it's acceptable. It's in our garden. We don't have to advertise it. It's us. Okay. Now, I will say two things from a professional perspective of 40 years. Here's a couple things that are probably need to be absolutely outside your garden. A third person will make your garden very messy and damage both of you. You might not think so, but it will. And pornography. If you're looking at someone else while you're having sex with your person, you can't be connected to that person, and sex is about being connected. So you can't be connected. So I would say those two things from a professional perspective are outside. You guys get to make the decision. I'm just telling you, 40 years of experience, I've not seen either of those things work out for any good for anybody. Now, when you have one person votes yes and one person votes no, it's outside the garden. It doesn't work right now. If you have two no's, really you won't fuss about that, because you both agree, don't want to do that, don't want to try that. Now, if you have a yes and a W, that person might be willing to experiment, but that person would be the person who brings it up. So if you're going to do W, you're going to take responsibility, say, listen, I will try that. For example, he might say lingerie's fine with me. She might say, I feel uncomfortable, but I'm willing to try it. And she will say, okay, within 30 or 60 days or 90 days, whatever period she chooses, I will try that. Okay, and when I try it, I'll decide if I like it and if it works for both of us. Now, that's the responsibility of the person who votes W, because you don't want to vote W and suspend it for a decade. You want to vote W, have a window of time that's encapsulated in, so that can be tried. Now, if you've got several W's, you can kind of spread that out as long as you both agree about it, talk about it. Listen, what's acceptable sexually is so important to be at peace. Also, frequency, it's a whole nother conversation in the materials that are down below. And also, maintaining eye contact, talking to each other, what to say, understanding your sexual expressions can totally transform your sex life. Sex is challenging for a lot of people to talk about, because honestly, where do you talk about it? I mean, unless you're in counseling, you're probably not going to talk to your friends about it. You're not going to talk to your family about it. And you're probably not going to talk to strangers about it, because they're not going to give you the best advice. And oftentimes when you talk to your spouse, they have very limited information, or your partner has limited information. That's why Upgrade Your Sex Life opens the door for conversation and information to be able to sort through what's acceptable, frequency, what sexual expression you are, if there's limitations from your past that are there, how to address those. Now, if you need help, Heart to Heart Counseling Center is there for you, 719-278-3708. We do 5-day intensives. You can contact our office, get in touch with a counselor who really specializes in these issues, so that nothing can stop you from having a great sex life. I know, okay, I was sexually abused. I was addicted. I've been clean for over 40 years. You can have great sex, but it does take some tools and some information. Now, if you have yet to subscribe to our channel, you want to do that. And if you have a question, put it in the box. We will get to you as soon as possible.